If the fiscal policy, whatever the government is framing, okay, or introduced, so if it is favored to the businessman, the number of industry will increase. If the rate of interest is increasing, so individual people, what they will do, they will withdraw from the share market and securities or bond. So they will invest it to individual bank for FD because of money control, the flow of money, the disposable income, whatever they are getting. So they are trying to go for investing. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to one and all. I am Natesh, lecturer in Commerce, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, MYSURU, the Temple of Excellence. We are in the Unit 2, Section 2, second semester Business Environmental B.B.A subject. The chapter name is Government and Legal Environmental, and today my agenda, fiscal policy, exactly what is the meaning, okay, and the definition of fiscal policy, impact on the fiscal policy on business, or we can understand like this, role of fiscal policy, and monetary policy, meaning and definition, impact on the monetary policy on business, okay, or you can say which is a role of monetary policy, and the EXIM policy, and what and all the objective of EXIM policy. Moving forward one by one. So the first one, the fiscal policy, means which is completely related to government. So the government, the major source of revenue is collected from the tax, okay, so which is imposed per the business, okay, or different. The person, whenever they are generating, businessman, whenever they are generating a income, of course the government, they start levy the tax for the businessman or individual people. So the major source, the government is collected from the tax only. So they are trying to go for expenditure, so which is related to infrastructure or road construction, okay, so overall economic development, okay. So here the fiscal policy concerned with the rising of government revenue. You must clear which is the major source of income is the government is collected, so only based on the tax collection, and incur the government expenditure, because the government is committed for number of expenditure for improve the infrastructure. So that's what, based on whatever they try to collect income from the tax collection, so they are trying to spend for the development. So the fiscal policy refers to the policy which is made by the government. Okay, you need to balance income and expenditure. If over expenditure, if there is no income, how the government is taking, they are committing for the too many development of infrastructure, it is not at all possible. That's what. So regarding its revenue and expenditure and borrowing, because whenever you are facing scarcity or insufficient balance, then only we are trying to go for borrowing. So in this case, it consists the taxation and expenditure policy of the government. If the government is trying to reduce the tax, the individual people, the disposable income, they are trying to spend for luxury life, okay, they are trying to fulfill the day-to-day requirement. The standard of life will be changed, the living life will be completely changed because of the availability of disposable income. So that's what the government are trying to control. So that's what they introduce the policy which is related to total collection of income through the tax, okay, and whatever they collected, they try to spend for development. And the fiscal policy definition, in the last slide, the common people can understand the meaning, but definition is the standard. So according to Rahim Ilkal, fiscal policy is a mean by which government adjusts its spending level and tax rate to monitor and influence the nation economy. If the nation want to develop, means if the economical condition want to improve, means of course the government want to take a step for the complete economic development using a fiscal policy which is related to collection of income from the tax, and whatever they collected, they try to go for spending for the development or infrastructure, building road, construction, okay. So like this, there are too many projects undertaken by the government. So now impact on the fiscal policy of business or role of fiscal policy. When the policy framed by or made by the government, So how it is impact on the business? It is very important. Whenever the policy, the government are imposing a tax for the businessman, of course they are finding it difficult. The ultimate product price will be increasing. So clearly want to understand, the government control as well as state offer different fiscal incentive and encourage industry. Because if number of businessmen they are coming front because of government, they want to assist, they want to support, they want to encourage. So that's what the government is giving us some incentive scheme. The development of various religious sectors and industry. If the number of industry, if they want to increase, means government want to take a best step towards the number of increasing the industry or businessman, because that's what the government are introducing a new scheme and incentive. They are offering incentives. So progressive increase in the indirect tax. Progressive, because the taxation means actually which is a burden for everybody. But if anybody is getting relaxation, of course they will be self-motivated. The fiscal policy can encourage the investment to create job for your long-term economic policy. If the fiscal policy, whatever the government is framing, okay, or introduced, so if it is favored to the businessman, the number of industry will increase. The government often use the tax incentive or disincentive to encourage or discourage certain activity. Few activity the government want to take a complete control. That's what whenever if there is any scarcity of product, if the government want to increase. So if you take best example for COVID-19 time, so we have a shortage of mask, oxygen. So the government, whenever they are providing a more benefit to those who are taking a steps to go for manufacturing, they're getting a subsidy. So they start manufacture now. So here, the tax incentive can also help to increasing the demand. The tax, because of tax only, everybody are bothering. If I start this business, if I taken a steps to establish your industry, if the tax burden is more, so they are going back. So that's what, if anybody want to come forward, of course, which is completely government want to take a best step. So using a incentive scheme. Now, moving to monetary policy. Monetary policy meaning. So here nothing. The individual person, the disposable income is increasing. Okay, if the government want to control, what they can do, they can increase the tax rate so that the disposable income will be reducing. So whenever the inflation and deflation time, the government want to control the money market. So here monetary policy, which is related to completely money market. So monetary policy refers to use of instrument under the control of a central bank, regulate the availability. So the complete control will be taken care by the RBI or central bank. So cost and use of money and credit, because the credit control is very, there is a functions of RBI, credit control is one of the best, one of functions of the RBI, okay. So here the cost and use of money flow. So if the disposable income of individual are increasing, okay, so of course there is a lot of demand for production, individual product, there is a lot of the cost of living style is completely changed. Monetary policy is to macroeconomic policy laid down by the central bank. Monetary policy, which is, you are well familiar with the external factors, macro environmental. Monetary policy, which is always coming under the monetary policy. So we as a businessman, they don't have any control. So it involves management of money, supply and interest rate. Because of flow of money, when the disposable income, best example, the disposable income of individual people, if it is increasing, there is a lot of demand. So according to demand, so as a businessman, they want to start producing the product. So of course, we are trying to balance demand and supply. The rate of interest is increasing. For example, any person, they are depositing in FD or recurring deposit, the rate of interest is low. So the individual people can think, so better I can withdraw completely. So I can invest for the share market. So because of rate of interest is less. If the rate of interest is increasing, so individual people, what they will do, they will withdraw from the share market and securities or bond. So they will invest it to individual bank for FD. Moving forward for the definition, according to R.P. Kent, define the management of expansion or contractions of the volume of money in circulation for explicit purpose of attending the specific objective, such as full employment. Because of money control, the flow of money, the disposable income, whatever they are getting, so they are trying to go for investing. If the rate of interest is less, so better they are trying to go for investing in the share market and mutual fund. So the bank rate, if it is increasing, the individual people, what they will do, they will sell the shares and debenture bonds, okay, from the capital market. So they are trying to invest in the banking sectors. Next, impact on the monetary policy on business. Okay, what and all as a businessman, how they are impacting, getting it. So one is the control of inflation. So it is very important. RBI, they try to take in steps to control the inflation and deflation. In case of inflation, the currency rate is increasing, the money value is more, so they try to control. So this is the best example for controlling inflation, the monetary policy. And interest rate. So there is actually, the bank are charging for the highest rate of interest for the loan purpose. Okay, after borrowing, the bank are charging for the rate of interest is more. Whenever they are accepting a deposit, they are giving low rate of interest. So here the rate of interest want to control. So, and business cycle, each and every business cycle which is passed through the business life cycle, of course, which will be affecting for the individual business. And the spending, the what and all, the businessman, they try to expand a business or spending for activity which is related to production or marketing. So the control completely. And the employment, of course, if the tax rate will be, number of industry are increasing, business they are starting new business, there is a lot of employment opportunity are getting. Next, EXIM policy. Under EXIM policy, which is nothing but export and import. When we are exporting, because when we have an abundant source, okay, so of course we are trying to go for exporting the product for required country. If we have any shortage, we are facing a scarcity, then only we are trying to get from other country. So which is related to export and import transaction or trading. So the policy is made by the government. So EXIM policy, everyone cannot be an export, everyone cannot be an import. Whenever you are keen interested to do for export and import activity, so there is compulsory license which is related to export and import license. So the policy which is related to those who are doing export and import activity, so the policy is completely for import and export, refers to the policy measure adopted by country with reference to export and import. Because of if there is no policy, so whatever we are producing completely we can export, because whenever you are selling for other country, we are getting more revenue because of currency rate. Okay, so that's why the government is made control. So they made one restriction. So of course those who are doing for import and export, we need to follow the rules, regulation, policy made for the export and import activity. EXIM policy is also known as foreign trade policy, because import and export, which is an international trade, so which is also, we call it as a foreign trade policy. Okay, because we know import and export policy, which is regulated, controlled by the government. Okay, so whenever we are doing an activity or trading between other country, it regulates by the Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1992. You must remember this date is very important, 1992. So whenever, if you try to promote export, of course, the policy you need to follow. Those who are doing activity which is related to import and export duty or foreign trade. So, EXIM policy is renewed every year on the 31st March, the policy will be renewed and revised based on the condition, criteria, situation, market situation. So the policy cannot be a constant, which can be revised. And improvement and new proposal become effective from 1st April. So which is the policy or framing 31st March, which is implemented 1st April for every year, which is not at all constant, based on the condition, based on the situation. So the policy can be revised. Now, objective of exim policy. Of course, any policy there is an objective. Here, the objective which is related to exim policy exclusively. So to generate a new employment opportunity, because in our country only there are too many import and export transactions are going. So of course this policy, when it is favored to those who are keen interested to do for import and export duty, so that's why there is a lot of new opportunity, employment opportunity. Okay, and encourage attainment of international accepted standard, because when we have an abundant source, we are not trying to utilize properly, so which will be completely waste. That's what we are trying to go for export. Whenever we are facing a scarcity, we are getting for import. To provide domestic consumer with a good quality goods and service at international competitive price, as well as creating level playing field of domestic products. So because we have too many product, we are facing a shortage. When we don't have an electronic product, we are getting from the Japan or China. Now completely the transaction is not there between country like China. So whenever we have the human beings life cycles will be always, they are attracting for the new product. Okay, whenever there is a lot of competition, even consumers are getting a lot of opportunity, the price also obviously will decreasing. Okay, moving forward. So to facilitate sustained growth in the export of the country, had hard of achieving a large percentage share in the global merchandise trade, because of whenever we have an abundant source, we are trying to compete with the global market, our product is going for other country. So of course we are leading in the global market. To enhance the technology strength and efficiency of Indian agriculture industry and survey, whenever we are doing a trading between other country, we will update our technology whatever it is available for throughout the world. And even the Indian agricultures which is related to agriculture product, when we have an abundant source, of course we can export for other country. So to provide quality consumer product at a reasonable price, okay, and establish the framework of globalization. Because of globalization, we are trying to market our product. Okay, we can do trading between other country. We can maintain good relationship between other country. Keep on watch for next section. Thank you.